Hey super friends, my name is Neil and this is episode 38 of the Get Your Comic On podcast. We're here fortnightly-ish to bring you a slice of comic book, film, TV and pop culture goodness from our studio to your speakers. From a new microphone no less. I am of course joined by my very own boy wonder himself, Martin. Say hello Martin.
Hello Martin.
How are you today?
I'm okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm doing a forceful voice.
Aggressive.
How are you?
Fine.
You're fine. We've got a new setup, haven't we?
We have.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting.
I am no longer talking to you from mere millimetres away from my microphone because I've realised that our microphones were recording at 100% of 20% input. So, go me for not being very technical with the microphones. But we've upgraded our little studio space. So we now have microphones on little extendable arms. It's like being in a real recording studio. Not just a spare room turned into a studio.
/ home office.
/ home office. Not the home office, a home office.
Oh no, not that home office.
But I'm now back in my usual spot, which means that I can see the whiteboard and I can ask you the question of what we're going to tell the lovely listeners about at home this week.
And I can say, I don't know, because 1, I can't see the whiteboard, and 2, I didn't read the call sheet.
Once again, listeners, Martin did not read the call sheet that I prepared and emailed him twice because the first time it didn't send. We are going to do a roundup of big news stories from the last couple of weeks. Then we're going to be reviewing Harley Quinn, the animated series from DC Universe, soon to be on HBO Max. I am going to review Wynd #1, which is the comic book I was telling you about last episode. We're going to be talking about Doom Patrol as well. Then I thought we'd talk about John Wick, which finally you have seen John Wick 1 and 2. I am yet to see 3, so 3 is next on the viewing list. And then we've also finished The Umbrella Academy Season 1. Finally. Only a month before Season 2 streams on Netflix. So I thought we'd just talk about how we were feeling about that. That sound reasonable?
Yeah, it seems alright.
Okay. Well, without further ado, on to the news. First up, DC Comics has announced that it is probably going to be skipping San Diego Comic-Con this year, which is obviously not happening as a physical event. They are using the same weekend in July to do what they're calling Comic-Con at Home, which is a virtual convention. Instead, DC Comics are running what sounds like an amazing event called DC FanDome, which is going to be taking place on August the 22nd, which is a Saturday. It's going to be a global 24-hour event, so I'm going to guess time difference-wise, it's going to start for us on the Saturday evening and run overnight and finish on the Sunday evening, if that makes sense. But it's a 24-hour global event, and I will read you the press release from DC that tells you all about what's going to be happening. Welcome to the DC FanDome, a mega 24-hour immersive virtual fan experience which brings the universe of DC to life and features the stars, filmmakers and creators behind its biggest films, TV series, games and comics. Join fans from all 7 continents for the largest gathering of talent, announcements and content reveals in the history of DC. Save the date and prep your cosplay on Saturday, August 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. PDT, which, if I'm right, is 8 hours behind. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, in the afternoon. BST, which is what we are at the moment. Warner Brothers will welcome fans everywhere into the DC FanDome, a free virtual fan experience where no badge is required. Imagine all the superheroes and supervillains you've ever loved finally coming together in one place to celebrate DC's past, present and future. Accessible for 24 hours at dcfandome.com. The global event will immerse fans into the DC multiverse with new announcements from WB Games, film and TV and comics, as well as unprecedented opportunities to hear from the casts and creators behind your favourite feature films, TV series, including, ready?
Ready.
Aquaman.
Ooh.
The movie, so Aquaman 2. The Batman.
Ooh.
Batwoman.
Ooh.
Black Lightning.
Ooh.
Black Adam.
Ooh.
DC Superhero Girls, which is the kid-friendly animated series.
Okay.
And whole toy line and stuff. DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Ooh.
DC's Stargirl.
Ooh.
Doom Patrol.
Ooh.
The Flash.
Ooh.
Harley Quinn. the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Lucifer, Pennyworth, Shazam, The Suicide Squad, Supergirl, Superman and Lois, Teen Titans Go, Titans, Watchmen, Young Justice Outsiders, and coming this fall to theatres worldwide, Wonder Woman 1984. The DC FanDome is the place to hear highly anticipated announcements and the latest news, see exclusive footage, and venture into themed worlds designed to entertain everyone from movie and TV superfans to gamers, readers, and to families and kids alike. I'm not going to read the rest of it. You can head over to our website, which is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, and you can check out the full story on there. DC released a map of the virtual world of DC FanDome. There are several different zones. So the Hall of Heroes is the central base, and then jutting off from that will be the DC Kidsverse, which is going to be a kid-friendly zone. There's the Insiderverse that's going to go behind the scenes on all of the different areas of DC. The Funverse, which is full of games and other activities. The Watchverse, which is going to be where there'll be lots of panels and other interactive things for you to see and do. And the Uverse, which is all about you, the DC fan. So what do we think?
Seems pretty intense. It's an intense 24 hours.
I know, I'm going to have to stay awake for 24 hours. I'm warning you now.
Oh, I can barely stay awake for 8 hours, never mind 24.
So there was a follow-up story to this that went out on, I think, Variety, which talked a little bit more about what the event's going to be itself. Because obviously we don't really know, like, is it going to be a website that you go onto and you just, like, click a panel to watch someone on Zoom, or how's it going to work? We haven't seen what it looks like, but what they've said is that you will log in to a first-person view of a virtual exhibition centre. So think like slightly Sims style but first person view, and you will be able to walk around. So there'll be art exhibits that you can actually walk around at your own pace and view the artwork, and exhibits that you can view. And they've said that panels won't necessarily just be videos for you to watch. They will be like 3D virtual models of the people. So it sounds like a massive undertaking for DC. I presume there'll be some level of suspending your disbelief as you watch it. I can't imagine they've spent hours taking every member of DC, like Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, and scanning them into 3D computers so that you can see a virtual model. You never know, maybe they have.
Not a lot else going on.
It did say that it's not like... like the Star Trek Online game I've got on Xbox, where you can see every other player running around like mad. It's not going to be like that. You're not going to see all the other people. It'll just be you walking around this virtual place and then taking part in the things you want to take part in. By the way, you might hear a cat snoring on the desk. I don't know how sensitive the new microphones are. That's just Ollie joining in with his 10 cents on the story.
He's so enthralled by your
James Gunn has confirmed that he and the cast of Suicide Squad will be there, including Margot Robbie and everyone else. The cast of Doom Patrol, I think, are involved. Titans, I'm not sure who's going to be there for Titans because they've not started filming yet. There's going to be... Zack Snyder has confirmed that he will be there. All of the cast of Wonder Woman will be there because they'll be only a few weeks away from release now that film has shifted. It's going to be a lot of talent there. It's also been pretty much confirmed that a new Batman game is going to be launched at that one as well, which is the game that's been teased for a long time. In fact, there may be 2 game announcements because Warner Brothers Montreal, who did Arkham Origins, not the rest of the Arkham trilogy, are doing the new Batman game, and Rocksteady, who did the Arkham trilogy, are doing a Suicide Squad game.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And that's all but confirmed as well now. Anything top of your list of things you'd like to see or do at the FanDome? Merchandise store for me.
I don't know. Anything Titans and Doom Patrol related, I'll be there.
What about the film side of things? What are you most excited to see from the films?
Curious to see a bit more about the Batman and how that's going to look, because there's been some interesting stuff coming out about that.
Hopefully they'll be back to filming by then.
How much were they nearly finished?
No. I wouldn't have thought so.
No.
They'd been filming for maybe a month?
That's a long time, isn't it?
They've probably got a month or so to go. Depends how intense the whole schedule is. We know that there'll be more footage from the new version of Justice League as well. There's been a clip from Justice League that was released by Jason Momoa on Instagram, which is that clip I showed you of Wonder Woman, not in costume, finding like a temple that's got hieroglyphs of Darkseid, and then you saw Darkseid for the first time. So expect to see some more Justice League.
Cool. I'm excited to see Wonder Woman.
Finally, the film that keeps getting pushed back at the moment. Although I read a news story the other day that said it's been pushed back more times than Marvel's New Mutants, which I think is quite unfair. Because, one of those has had a very difficult production window and the other has been hit by COVID.
I mean, there's not a lot you can do, really. You just got to roll with the punches. Roll with the punches.
DC has just launched a new initiative today on the FanDome website, so if you head over to dcfandome.com, they are asking for anyone and everyone to submit questions for the various different panels. So when you log on to the website, it will ask you which topic you wish to ask a question for, and there is a huge list. I won't read it out to you. It's many of the things that I just reeled off from the press release, but there's a few more in there. And then it asks you if you want to ask a written question, or you can send in a video question as well, and it encourages you to put cosplay on, do something DC related in your video, and they will include chosen ones in the panels on the day. So I submitted a little cheeky question to the makers of Harley Quinn, and said, if you get to do a season 3, are there any other members of the Bat family that you would like to introduce to the show? Nightwing. I didn't do that last bit, but that was what I was thinking.
That'd be a bit weird. Was it a video question?
No, it was not a video question. It was just a written question.
You should have done a video question in Harley cosplay.
Oh, I don't know that I'd suit a Harley cosplay.
You've got your hair long enough for pigtails.
I could have pigtails. That's just pandemic hair for you. Who would you ask a question to? Here's a question. Who would you ask a question to?
Oh, it's a bit meta. I want to ask a question about a question. I don't know. I'm not good at asking questions. I get too nervous.
Well, remember, you're not actually physically going to be there asking a question.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is giving you the opportunity to ask any of them anything without having to stand at the microphone and do it in the moment.
I don't know what I would ask. The opportunity now is too vast.
Jeff Johns is on the list. Jim Lee's on the list.
I could ask a question about anything. Oh, I don't know.
You can ask Robert Pattinson questions.
I don't know if I'd want to.
Who would be his perfect Robin? You can ask Zack Snyder questions. This will be the first time in a very long time that no one's asked him, when will we get to see the Snyder Cut? Although, to be fair, we don't have a premiere date, so maybe they will ask him, when will we see the Snyder Cut? But,
That's true. We could ask when we'll see the Air Cut.
Oh, you went there, did you?
You said I could ask a question.
True.
I'm asking a question.
There's a lot of...
Don't hate the question, hate the game.
I'm not sure that that's a phrase.
It is now.
There's a lot of speculation that they're going to use this event to kind of tenuously suggest that everything DC is all part of the DC multiverse. So the concept would be that you could one day have, like, I don't know, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker go up against Kevin Conroy's animated Batman because they're all part of the multiverse. Which is just, I think, a nice way of saying everything's connected. It doesn't mean that they actually are beholden to anything. But it does kind of lend some credence to our next news story. And that was a segue to the news that Michael...
Tenuous.
Really?
Nope.
Well, it was a segue to the news that Michael Keaton is reportedly in talks to return to the role of Batman for Andy Muschietti's The Flash, which is due to start production later this year.
Ooh.
How do we feel about Michael Keaton returning as Batman for the first time since 1992?
1992. God, I was only 2.
No, you weren't. You were 3.
Well, not all of us were 15 then.
I was 7, actually.
Well, it's very exciting. I mean, it was interesting because when you said to me he was 68, I thought, my God, he's probably a bit too old to play Batman. But then when you think of him in Homecoming, was Homecoming?
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming.
I mean, you would never know. I mean, he was proper badass in that.
Yeah.
If I can say that word.
You can. We're still child-friendly if you say the word ass.
Oh, I have to say it twice. So I'd be very excited to see him suit up and dust off the old Nike trainers.
So that's the rumour. The rumour is that you will get to see him suit up and that Warner are looking to bring him in as the figurehead Batman for the DC, that part of the DC universe on film. It wouldn't impact on Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson would be another part of the multiverse. See, it's that multiverse phrase again coming into the story, and that he would get a multi-picture deal that would mean that he was able to appear in a number of DC projects. So he'd transition in the Flash, taking over from Ben Affleck, and then the biggest talking point seems to be that we would then at some point in the near future see him mentoring an on-film Batgirl. We know that Batgirl's been high on their agenda for quite some time, with Joss Whedon originally working on it and then leaving. So that's been in the offing for, 4 or 5 years now.
So it'd be quite... And are we saying that he's the Batman from Justice League, or are we just going all Flashpoint and be like, it's fine?
From what we understand, the idea of Flashpoint that was originally talked about for the Flash movie, that was then not part of the Flash movie, is now part of the Flash movie again. So Andy Muschietti, who's the director of the 2 recent It remake films, has said that there are aspects of Flashpoint in his story. So I guess he's taken a stab at the script as well, and they've possibly rewritten it from where it was when the guy from Bones, whose name I can never remember, was writing it, potentially. Because those writers have now left. They're now not writing it or directing it. It's now the Muschiettis. So that was Muschietti, not Machete. There's a difference. It sounds like the idea is that Barry will go back in time to save his mum, and that when he returns to the present day, he will land in some kind of version of the DC universe where Michael Keaton is Batman.
Okay, so the 89 verse.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
Which ties the whole thing back to Crisis, because we saw...
Ezra Miller.
No, I was actually thinking about the 89 verse cameo.
Oh, yeah, because we saw the reporter, Knox.
That's it, Alexander. It was his first name. I knew it began with an A, but I couldn't think what it is. Yeah, so we saw Alexander Knox when we went to the 89 verse. But yes, also, we saw Ezra Miller speak to Grant Gustin. And Grant was the one that explained the multiverse to Ezra. Ezra didn't know, his version of Barry Allen didn't know what the multiverse was. So essentially, if DC announce things the way that it seems like they're going to announce it, that moment is the beginning of the entire concept of what DC multimedia now is. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Grant Gustin doesn't get to appear in the Flash movie.
Do you think they would use that exact scene and just like, drop?
Yeah.
And then not have to refilm something, or...
There's nothing to say that the film doesn't pick up after Justice League. Oh, I mean, it might. I suppose they'll probably want to do a Flash origin, because that's never been seen on film. Obviously it's been seen on TV, but it's not been seen in big screen. So I guess that you could do here's how he becomes the Flash. He learns he can travel in time. He's running around trying to get back, thinking he's going to be able to save his mum. Accidentally somehow manages to traverse the multiverse, meets another Flash, or meets another Flash by accident because he runs too fast, gives him the idea to run back in time, saves his mum, meets Michael Keaton.
He might meet other Flashes as well.
Plenty of other Flashes.
That'd be exciting. Do you think
this is
get
the
Thingy to come back? What's his name?
John Wesley Shipp.
John Wesley Shipp. He is the Flash.
He is the Flash. I mean, we know that he's more than willing to play that character again, having played him in Crisis and several episodes of The Flash.
Did I read something, or did I hear a vicious rumour that Michelle Pfeiffer was coming back as well?
There is now a rumour that Michelle Pfeiffer is being courted to come back as Catwoman, or Selena Kyle. But remember, there was also the set photo from Crisis on Infinite Earths that was a newspaper with Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne on the cover of the newspaper saying Bruce Wayne marries Selena Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. That would be good.
So, I mean, you could easily put 2 and 2 together and equal about 5 million at this point, because the opportunities and it's just completely endless what they could do with it at this point. But, yeah.
Well, watch this space.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting.
Watch this multiverse.
August the 22nd. I think a lot more is going to become clear on August the 22nd, because as I just read out to you, the Flash movie has a panel of some kind at DC FanDome. There is another rumour that's going around as of the last couple of days, which is that if talks with Michael Keaton fall through, because they are still only talks, there's no official casting, that they're going to go after Christian Bale to see if they can coax him back. But he's made it very clear over the years that he would only really want to play Batman if Christopher Nolan was involved. And he's not exactly a big franchise kind of guy. He's never been in more than sort of this series as playing the same character.
I don't really want to see him back. Not in a bad way.
No, not in a bad way at all. They gave him an ending. His
Yeah.
his Batman had an ending, so it wouldn't quite feel right to do it. It would feel like they would undo Christopher Nolan's work to bring him back into it. And then I think the other thing is that he's cast in the new Thor film over at Marvel. Not that I'm suggesting you can't do Marvel and DC, because James Gunn shows that you can, but that film's going to be going into production at a similar time to The Flash, so it would either mean that they'd have to hold The Flash for him to do another film first, and we've been waiting long enough for The Flash as it is. Not that I want them to rush it out, because it should be good, but I don't think that he's the right Batman. I think Michael Keaton is the right Batman. George Clooney is not the right Batman to bring back.
No, you can't really bring back Val Kilmer.
No, bless him. He's got to focus on his health. Michael Keaton is the only Batman that could come back. Although Batfleck has been trending on Twitter, so...
Yeah, there is Batfleck. I mean, I'm holding out a bit of hope here.
Oh, really?
It's a strange world we're living in. Things are happening that you'd never think were going to happen.
So Ben Affleck returning as Batman could happen?
I
don't see it happening, but...
Would you, if we had this conversation 3 months ago, when I said to you, Michael Keaton's coming back, you'd be like, no, he's not coming He's an
back.
old
It's
man.
Never gonna happen. I wouldn't have said he was an old man.
He's got his slippers on. He's chilling out. He's not going to put the Nikes back on. But here we are.
For the uninitiated, the Nike talk is about the fact that his costume in Batman 89 doesn't have boots. It actually has Nike trainers that then have shields over the top. Shields. Sorry, went to a Batmobile place. We'll keep you posted on that one. Hopefully at some point fairly soon, probably August the 22nd, because that is the deadline for everything. We'll get some news. Maybe they'll do a flash panel and Ezra will be chatting away, and they'll say, do you know what, it's time we bring in some of the other cast, and maybe we'll get to see Kiersey Clemons come back as Iris, who we've not actually seen as Iris yet, but we will do in the Snyder Cut. And then they'll be like, is there anybody else that we want to introduce from the cast of this film? Boom, Gal Gadot. Boom, Henry Cavill. Boom, Michael Keaton.
That's a lot of booms. And I suppose these will be virtual panels, so they don't have to be in the same room.
Exactly. It's very easy to get these people, in air quotes, together without actually having them together.
Because they've got nowhere else to be.
No, exactly. They're all sitting at home waiting for this to happen. I just hope that Michael Keaton's on board with it.
I'm sure he will be. I'll speak to him.
Have a word.
Like old Keats.
On to the next story. There is actually more DC news, but I want to veer away from DC news for just a second to talk about something else. And I want to talk about Wynd. And I don't mean what happens when you've had too much cabbage.
Peppermint tea is my recommendation for the peppermint tea.
I want to talk about Wynd, the comic book. I'm gonna review it in a few minutes. But before that, I just wanted to talk about the fact that Wynd #1 has sold out and is going back for a second printing. I'm gonna review it in a minute, so I don't want to say too much. But I had a feeling this was going to be something that I would enjoy, and it turned out that it was. And then Boom Studios dropped over a press release which says, Boom Studios has today announced that Wynd #1, the premiere issue of the surprise original series from award-winning superstars James Tynion IV and artist Michael Dialinas, with letterer Aditya Bidikar, has sold out at distributor level! ! In response to the overwhelming support from retailers and fans, Boom Studios has announced that Wynd #1, the second printing, will be available in July 2020 and will feature new cover art by superstar artist George Corona, who is the artist on a series called Middle West. I'm gonna show you the artwork right now. I'm holding it up.
Ooh.
Yes, it's a really nice cover. Yeah, so I just thought it was a nice little news story that there is a comic book out there that's not a huge franchise book, that's not DC, that's not Marvel, that is selling really well with fans and doing well enough that it's going back for multiple printings. So if you've not been able to get your hands on a copy physically from a comic book store, then fear not, it will be back on the shelves in July featuring some really nice cover art, but you can also pick it up digitally at the moment as well.
So get your hands on a bit of Wynd.
Yes, you could get your hands on a bit of Wynd. Again, what happens when you have too much cabbage?
What's next in the news?
I searched long and hard for stories that were not related to Warner Brothers and DC. But I have to admit, and I've had this conversation with a number of people over the last few weeks. Marvel has been very, very quiet during lockdown. They don't really have anything in production. Obviously, Black Widow got pushed back, and they've been moving around their release schedule a little bit while they deal with things. We could talk about some Disney Plus news. They've got lots of big things coming up on there. So this Friday sees the release of the Hamilton musical, which is going to be on there. I've recommended it because it was a musical I actually enjoyed.
Which I'm shocked at, because halfway through you said to me, "What's going on? Why are they singing?"
I'm sure I wouldn't have said, "Why are they singing?"
You did.
I'm not that much of a Luddite when it comes to musicals.
You said, "Do they stop singing? Why aren't they talking? It's a musical. Be quiet."
Well, that drops on Disney Plus on Friday, and we just posted up a new trailer for Disney Plus's exclusive Muppet show, Muppets Now, which looks hilarious, which also comes in July.
I'm excited about that, and I'm devastated that Kermit and Miss Piggy aren't together anymore. When did that happen?
Is that because of the YouTube video you watched of them on a talk show announcing their split?
Yeah. And I also couldn't work out where the hand was.
That's camera trickery for you.
But you could see all the way around them and everything.
Well, you could also see the sticks.
Well, I mean, but that's different. I mean, how is his wee face moving?
It's because he's real.
Yeah, I think he is, apart from his arms.
Oh dear. So the last thing that I had on the news stories for today was the release of the first trailer for, funnily enough, DC and Warner Brothers' upcoming animated movie, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. This is the first film which is being released following Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. If that's a film that you haven't already seen, then where have you been? Because you need to see it. So I would recommend that you go and watch it ASAP, because it is bloody brilliant. And listen to one of our previous podcasts where we interviewed cast members Jason O'Mara, who plays Batman, interviewed by myself, and the writer Ernie Altbacker. And am I right in thinking, did you shamelessly flirt with someone for around 20 minutes over Skype?
I did not shamelessly
in what's
flirt.
loosely called an interview?
I didn't shamelessly flirt with anyone. Rude. I had a constructive conversation with a mate.
Who was this person?
It was Matt Ryan.
It was Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan? I'm going about Yorkshire there.
Constantine himself, yes. So you can listen to our interviews with Batman and Constantine and the writer of the film in a previous podcast. So, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, new cast. You have, there's Darren Criss, who you will know from Glee, as Superman. You've got Alexandra Daddario as Lois Lane, Ryan Hurst as Lobo, Zachary Quinto as Lex Luthor, which I'm really looking forward to hearing, Bellamy Young as Martha Kent, and Neil Flynn, the dad from The Middle, as Jonathan Kent. Then Brett Dalton as Parasite, and Eugene Bird from Bones as Ron Troop. They've just announced that the film is going to be releasing in September on DVD, Blu-ray and 4K, and it hits digital platforms on August the 23rd, I think it is, and you can pre-order your copies at the usual places now, where all good DVDs and digital movies are sold.
Wherever that may be these days.
I just wanted to know on this one what you thought of this trailer, because I think that you and I have some slightly different views on it.
I wasn't mad about it.
What are you not mad about?
I don't know, I wasn't loving the animation style.
Okay, so this is a brand new animation style. We don't know if this is going to be another continuity like the Justice League movies that have just ended, or if this will be one of the more one-offs that do sometimes veer from the normal style. So we're in slightly unsure ground at the moment as to what's happening, because we're in this sort of transitionary period. It is quite different. I think it's very, very clean in terms of an animation style. I think that if you look at Justice League Dark and that continuity, there's a little bit more of a almost hand animated style to it. It's a little bit more papery. There's texture to it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Whereas I feel like this is very, very clean colours. There's a little bit less depth with texture. It's more use of shadows, and I just think very modern and very contemporary and very clean.
Yes. I prefer a bit more textured and dirty.
We've gone into some places of just trying to analogize the situation, which I don't think is a word. Thick lines as well. I think the black lines around, you know, the way you would draw if you were drawing with a pencil. I feel like the older films had a slightly more thin texture, and this has a slightly more blocky texture to it in terms of some of the line work. Make sense?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to have to do some sort of visual cues here on my iPad to try and show it.
I know what you mean. It looks different.
Yes. I'm trying to understand what about the difference it is that you're not so keen on. Or is it just that you are not a fan of change?
Well, there's probably that as well, to be honest with you. Yeah. I don't like that it's too clean and it's too different.
Okay. Do you feel differently about it having seen the trailer from when we only had seen stills previously before? Because we'd seen a couple of stills from it before we got to see the trailer.
No.
Okay then. It was just a no, I don't like change from you.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just no.
Well, I'm not allowing you to interview Darren Criss if the opportunity comes up.
Well, I couldn't do that anyway. I'd be too nervous. Matt Ryan was bad enough.
I'm interested to hear Zachary Quinto as Lex Luthor, though. That could be a really interesting take on Lex Luthor. Going to be interesting to see how they pitch this slightly differently to the way Superman and Lex were in the last continuity. We're obviously stepping back in time. We're going to early Superman days and very early in their relationship and the dynamic between the two of them. Looks like we're going to see slightly more... Well, actually, I was going to say slightly more hands-on Lois Lane, but you can't really get much more hands-on than practically being a member of the Suicide Squad as she was in Justice League Dark. This looks like a different kind of strength of character. The last Lois was kind of bolshy. This one is more ballsy. I'm really on an analogy trip this evening.
I don't think there's much of a difference.
There is. It's very subtle, but it's there.
Oh, okay. When's it out?
August 23rd on digital and early September on DVD and Blu-ray. You haven't asked me why I like it.
You've just told us you like it because she's ballsy, not bullshit. You like the thin lines, not the thick lines, and a pencil or something. And it's clean. And
have we gone to a place that I need to just move on to the next thing now?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I'm telling you to sense the room. Read the room.
It's a very small room and there's only you and I in it.
Yeah. You've put the cat to sleep.
Have I? Oh dear. Okay. That's it for the news this week. We will hopefully have some more stories to talk about in the next one. We know that Hollywood is starting to pick things back up again. So Jurassic World, I didn't feel this was particularly newsworthy because there's not much to say about it, but Jurassic World Dominion, which is the third of the Jurassic World films, is starting filming again next week here in London. So hopefully Batman will go back to work also here in the UK very, very soon, and we'll start having a bit of a trickle of more things coming through. One last thing that I did just remember, actually, and this isn't one for discussion, it's just of note for people that are listening, because I know there's fans out there. Lucifer has officially now announced that it's been picked up for a 6th and final season. So the 5th and final season is now the 5th season, and the 6th season is the 6th and final season.
Makes sense.
They wanted to get to a 666 place. Yeah. So Netflix has started doing some quite ingenious advertising already, even though season 5 isn't out, doing 666, one last go kind of thing. So that's really good news for them. They thought they were coming to an end, I guess, slightly prematurely, and they've been able to make it work, which is really nice. It's nice to see that Netflix is open to doing that with properties that it knows are really popular.
Are they going to release it on the 6th of June?
Maybe.
At 6 o'clock.
And 6 minutes past.
And 6 seconds.
Too many sixes. On to the review section. We've got a lot to rattle through on the reviews this week. The big one that I wanted to talk about was Harley Quinn, the animated series. So Harley Quinn is a DC Universe... Well, actually, plans have changed since I wrote my notes. Harley Quinn was a DC Universe exclusive in the US, but is now going to be coming to HBO Max in the very near future as well. That's just been announced in a newsletter from the people at HBO. So we don't know if it's going to be season 1 and 2. All it says is Harley Quinn coming soon to HBO Max. So a bit more of sharing content between Warner Brothers platforms. Here in the UK, you can watch Harley Quinn on E4. It airs on Thursday nights. I normally post up something on Instagram to say which episode is airing, but E4 went and done me wrong and have started airing it in double bills. So I'm now episodes behind because they started airing them in doubles. So I think there's only a couple of episodes left in season 1 before it's over, and they haven't confirmed yet when they're going to air or if they're going to air season 2. You can also pick it up on iTunes here in the UK because it's Channel 4 shows do the weekly pass thing, so you can pay for the full season now, and as each episode airs they add it on to iTunes. It's also available on iTunes in America, I believe, and you can pick it up on Blu-ray. Not Blu-ray, actually, sorry. That's the crying shame here. You can pick it up on DVD only in America as well.
Oh.
Yeah, they didn't release it on Blu-ray for some reason, only on DVD.
That's a crying shame.
Exactly. So we've had 26 episodes so far, 2 13-episode blocks. We have seen every one. What do you think of this show?
It was alright.
I feel like you really enjoyed this during season 1, and I feel like you lost it somewhere in season 2, but I don't know where, because you've not been very vocal about it.
No, I don't know either. I just feel I don't know. I really like series. Well, I like series 1 up until a certain point.
Okay, so what point do you feel like you lost it in season 1?
I don't know. I think I had a strong start of being so different with the violence and the swearing and the blood and the gore.
Yep.
And then it sort of went to a more serious place.
Okay.
And then I kind of lost it a little bit. I mean, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I was rushed to watch.
Okay. Whereas I feel like I've rushed to watch it every Friday as the episodes have come out. So let's talk about season 1. Storyline in season 1 was very much about Harley moving on from the Joker. So the pilot episode was the breakup. And then you very much get a few weeks of her striking out on her own, trying to figure out who she is, forming the crew, bringing in the supporting cast, who I think are excellent. And then it moves on to kind of how she deals with that and ultimately bringing it back around to a confrontation with the Joker. And then season 2 went to more of a no man's land place to begin with. We had Gotham in ruins based on what had happened in the season 1 finale. And then it began to focus more on the relationship between Harley and Ivy, which is where it circled back around to in the finale. So I'm just trying to figure out where it became a bit more serious in season 1. I think the pilot was a very, very strong opening, and even that episode itself had a very strong opening within it as well. The scene on the boat, you had some great play between Joker and Harley. You had them melting the faces off all the men on that boat, and then him dumping her and leaving her behind so that he could escape. It set quite a precedent for what was going to be a really strong show. I think there were a couple of episodes in season 1 which did, for me, go a bit too far. So the episode where Clayface lost his hand and Jim Gordon became best friends with the hand.
Yeah, that was a bit weird, but I wouldn't. Yeah,
that one took it too far for me, and I struggled with that one. There have been I've not loved every single episode. There have been times where I've wondered what on earth I was watching, and it's not been quite what I was hoping it was going to be. But overall, I've really enjoyed it, and that in season 1 for me was it. The whole best friends with the hand. I struggled overall with Jim Gordon in the show. I felt like he redeemed himself a bit in season 2 with bringing in Barbara, but in season 1 I definitely had issues with his character.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't pinpoint it for you.
No,
I don't know. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, I'll watch it if it's on. But I wouldn't put it on purposely.
Who's been your favourite member of the cast? So you've got Kaylee Cuoco as Harley Quinn, Lake Bell as Poison Ivy, Alan Tudyk as take your pick, Clayface and Joker being the main ones. You've got Ron Funches as King Shark and Tony Hale as Dr. Psycho. Then you also had Cy, the landlord, who ends up kind of part of the team. And then I'm forgetting the name of the plant, Frank the plant, who was, I think, less focused on in season 2 than he was in season 1, which is a shame because he was a bit of a fan favourite character. And let's not forget Matt Oberg, who plays Kite Man, who is rather a controversial figure in this show.
Yeah, I don't really have a favourite. I mean, anything Alan Tudyk, probably. Because I'd quite like Alan Tudyk.
How do you feel about his Joker, actually?
He's quite a good
That's
Joker.
a good talking point.
Yeah, I think he's quite a good Joker. He does a good laugh.
He does. He does a very good maniacal laugh.
Yeah, he does a good Clayface. I do like his Clayface.
It's interesting to see Clayface portrayed slightly differently because I don't feel like I've seen him portrayed this way before.
It's nice that they've taken an aspect of his character that's true, so the actor, and then sort of turned it up to 11.
Yeah. Okay, this may stray slightly into season 2 territory as well, but who's been your favourite Clayface role?
Oh God, I've no idea. I couldn't tell you. I didn't pay that much attention.
Oh, it's got to be Stephanie from Gotham U in season 2.
Oh.
For me. She was hilarious. The way he committed to each of his characters that he was playing was I think a genius bit of writing on behalf of the showrunners.
I did like the last episode when he was trying to play up to Tim Burton. It turned out it was like Steve or something.
George? I think it was George.
Yeah.
Yes. We were jumping slightly ahead to talk about season 2, but I agree. Alan Tudyk is excellent, and they've used him to the max in this. He's doing well out of DC Universe, given that he's obviously also in Doom Patrol. Though, will we see him in season 2?
I hope so.
Yes. Actually, okay, if you don't have a favourite amongst the cast, is there anybody that you felt was a bit of a weak spot within the cast?
I was a massive fan of the landlord.
Sorry.
Yeah. I just found it all a bit too out there.
I don't know much about his character from comic books, but once again, another moment in season 1 where I felt I lost it slightly was Harley Quinn Highway, which isn't necessarily a bad episode. I just didn't quite understand, and again, maybe it's my grasp on an adult comedy cartoon series, but for a show that felt like it had quite a grounded-ish sort of Gotham with fantastical comedy within it, I felt like a giant roller coaster motorway thing was almost a little step too far.
Well, you've just got to suspend all belief, really, haven't you? Some things just don't need explaining in an animation world.
I do think it's been really funny, though. I think it's been really funny throughout. But one thing that has surprised me about it was the amount of character and the amount of emotion that was underneath it. I felt what my expectations were going to be going into the show was an adult comedy, obviously. So I expected swearing, I expected violence, and I expected a lot of Harleyisms. What I hadn't expected would be to really like Harley and to really like Clayface or King Shark, lesser extent Dr. Psycho, although him calling Wonder Woman a bleep was quite funny, to be fair. I did like the way they wrote him in. And yet I found myself caring for quite a lot of the characters.
Yeah, I was shocked at the level of emotional investment that we're going to put into the characters.
Yeah, and that was one thing which I think was really strong throughout both seasons, was the amount of character development that went in there, and not just to Harley, and then not just to Harley and Ivy, but you had Clayface, who went through an arc of some kind. You had Psycho, who went through an arc, although albeit ending up a villain. King Shark had quite an arc as well, and it'll be interesting if they get a season 3 to see what happens with him and his wife.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Shark.
Yeah, whether there'll be sharklings in the offing.
Or any baby sharks.
I just wrote a piece that's up on our website now about why I think DC Universe, and maybe HBO Max, now that they're sharing it, should pick the show up for a 3rd season. Because in amongst all of that emotional kind of, I was going to say underlay, and then I started laughing in my head because I was thinking of Speedy Gonzales. Underneath all of that humour and all of the comic book action, I do think they told a really important story for Harley and Ivy and the way it was represented. And so this is what I spoke about in the piece that you can read over on the website now, but I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of fans of this show over the last few weeks, because we've kind of been the website that's premiered the promo photos every week and the synopsis for each episode. And through talking to a lot of fans, I've realised that a lot really wanted Harley and Ivy to be together from day dot, from the beginning, and just have them be a couple and see what that's like. But maybe it's because I'm a little bit older and a little bit more worldly weary, but I have enjoyed watching the journey of those two characters from, in theory, when they first met in the flashback episode in season 2, but from where they are in season 1 as friends all the way through to where they are at the end of that finale, where they finally potentially are now a couple. I think that's been a very interesting journey to watch, especially in the setting of what is ostensibly a comedy series.
Yeah, I mean, it was an I think I would have preferred to have seen it this way. I think if it was episode 1 and they were together straight away, where would they have gone with it?
Yeah, and I think there's places to go with it now, because they have an opportunity to portray a same-sex couple and not necessarily immediately break them up or throw something at them to break them up. When you think about when you think about couples on TV, if you think like Ross and Rachel, which I realise is a bit left field, but I'm a Warner Brothers kind of guy, a long time was spent in sort of the early season of Friends, like season 1, 2, on the will they, won't they, he likes her, she likes him, it never quite works out because they're always with someone else. And then they got together, and you look back on it and think, oh, it was so nice when they were together, and then they had the breakup and the we were on a break thing. But when you watch it now, or if you were to read about the kind of episode orders of things, you realise that they're probably not together for very long before they immediately start throwing roadblocks at them. And if you look at something like Bones, probably to a lesser extent, they didn't do years of will they, won't they. It was a joke. Oh, you're a couple. No, we're not. Oh, actually, we maybe have feelings for each other. Oh, we've had a baby. Now we're together. And then the odd roadblock thrown at them after that, like his gambling addiction and things like that. But if you look at typical TV couples, they're not together for very long. Willow and Tara in Buffy is a good example. A very strong same-sex couple, one of the first female same-sex couples on TV. Not actually together for that long before they use her addiction to break them up.
Yeah.
The way that TV works is it so often puts a couple together and then throws things at them. Go think about like Dawson's Creek. How long were the big power couple together before they were then broken up, or any couple on that kind of show together before they break up? So if Harley has prided itself on doing something different this far, then do more episodes and have them be a couple and have them as a couple be fighting together against something. Similar, actually, and I made this connection in the piece on the website, but Sarah and Ava on Legends of Tomorrow. They don't constantly try and break them up. They're just together, and it's an aspect of the story. I think there's something there that could be really interesting and different to see. What would you... So if there was to be a season 3, what would you like to see? Did I just do that thing where I spent a really long time explaining something?
Yeah, I feel like I was in like a film studies class. I've never been in a film studies class.
That was what it was like.
I can't imagine that's what it'd be like.
Okay, sorry. What would you like to see in a particular potential season 3?
I have no idea. I mean, I've just had a history of power couples on TV and film. I don't know. I don't mind. I'm open.
Okay.
I like to see some more characters.
Yes.
I'd like to see some animation.
What you just made me think of was the episode in season 2. Like in The Simpsons, where they do like go to the comic book shop and somebody really geeky will be like, in episode 305, why did the Klingon not have the forehead? So the episode in season 2...
It's a very valid question.
It is a very valid question. The episode in season 2 that didn't have Harley or Ivy or any of the main cast in it, but just focused on Batman and Batgirl. What did you think of that one? And did that make you think, actually, Batman could work in this kind of setting as well? I'm now interested to see what an adult comedy with the Bat family would be like.
No.
Okay, it did for me.
Yeah. I mean, no.
No?
I don't know. It would just be like Brave and the Bold, but for adults.
But poor Batman couldn't pick up his socky wockies because he was all ill after the falling under a tower.
I think there's only so many jokes like that you can make, though, isn't there?
I suppose. I guess it works better with a character like Harley because she is a comical character in general.
Yeah, you've got to have that juxtaposition.
Well, hey, thank you, film student. Student becomes the teacher. Well, on the topic of Brave and the Bold, I think it was the right idea to bring Diedrich Bader in as Batman for this. The go-to would be, oh, it's Batman, let's bring in Kevin Conroy, particularly as it's animation. But actually, Diedrich Bader is the right kind of Batman for this because that Brave and the Bold Batman is like the kid-friendly version, I think.
I don't think Kevin Conroy would work. He's too serious. You need that Brave and the Bold music meister.
The Music Meister sings a song that we all love to hear.
Sing for me, Canary.
Oh. Ah.
That's plenty.
Yes, that's plenty. Although I bet that sounds
wrong.
That might sound beautiful on this new microphone.
It's not a magic microphone.
Season 2. How did you feel about that story arc in Season 2 then? Where the slightly adapting No Man's Land, the idea of the villains having the different zones and them overcoming that. What did you think of Season 2?
It was alright.
Like getting blood from a stone, super friends.
Well, I told you. I mean, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't rush to watch it again.
Which of the two blocks of 13 episodes then, which was your favourite? The first half or the second half?
I couldn't tell the difference between the two of them, I'll be honest.
That's probably not a bad thing because they were produced as a 26 episode block and then split later on, so...
Yeah, I felt it's one cohesive story to me.
Ooh, okay.
Was there a break? I don't remember there being a break.
It was only about 6 weeks in between the first batch of episodes and the second batch.
I don't remember the break.
You were asleep, maybe.
I think it was COVID break.
I mean, to be fair, it was between season 1 and 2 that we got press access to the Warner Brothers studio, so we kind of had a slightly lesser gap and we had a batch of episodes to watch early on. So we did get it slightly broken up differently than it would have been.
Yeah, I don't see it in my mind as 2 blocks. It's always just been a series.
I was kind of surprised that they released it on DVD as 13 episodes. I thought they would have waited and done the full 26. So maybe there'll be a Blu-ray release down the line now that there's 26 episodes out there. It's maybe a bit more financially viable to do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question anyway, but any sort of highlight moments from these 26 episodes then?
Alan Tudyk.
Okie dokie.
Anything with the Tudyk, because he's funny. And he does a good character.
Fair enough.
What about you? What are your highlights? Short explanation. One highlight.
Probably the Batman episode. I wouldn't say that's like my biggest highlight, but that's the one that springs to mind because I just hadn't expected that episode to work as well as it did. I also really like Kaylee Cuoco as Harley Quinn.
She does a mean Harley Quinn.
I think she had the right idea by not trying to do an impression of anybody else's Harley Quinn and also not trying to do a full-on New York accent all the way through. There was an interview clip with her, and I feel like I've spoken about this before, where she said she knows that her voice is quite distinct, so instead of trying to cover it up, she just lent into her own voice and amped it up a bit, and I think that was the right idea.
She does have a very distinct voice.
Yeah. Ironically, though, I think her sister has a very similar voice, so I slightly struggle with her sister voicing Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, because I think she sounds like Kaylee.
I would never have known.
We'll have to go back to an episode with her in it, and I think if now that you know, you'll pick up on it, because I struggle to be able to tell the difference between the two of them a little bit.
Do you know what they need? Andrea Romano.
I'm not going to ask you to score it because that's 26 episodes that you'd need to score. Exactly.
7.
You can read all of my reviews of each and every episode for the entire of the 2 seasons up on the website now. Actually, if you go to getyourcomiccon.co.uk/Harley Quinn, there's a little episode guide there for you, everything. Exactly ready and waiting. Just before we move on to the next topic, I asked you guys out there in social media land to tell us if there was anything that you wanted us to talk about with this show or any particular questions that you wanted us to discuss. And we actually had 250 replies to that.
Oh, you're not reading them all, are you?
Well, I can, because 80% of them just say Season 3, or will there be a Season 3, or can you tell us when Season 3 will happen? The answer to all those questions is we're not sure, we think there will be, and it will likely be announced on August the 22nd at DC FanDome. Lots of the other questions were, who are your favourite characters, which we've covered, what have been your favourite moments, again, which we've covered, thoughts on the abandonment and killing off of certain characters, how did you feel about them killing off Penguin and Mr. Freeze?
I was a bit shocked.
I liked that it made it unpredictable.
Yeah, I like that, go with that.
Yeah, just because when you watch a show that adapts a comic book arc from a comic book, you kind of know what's going to happen. So it's like Batman Hush, the film. You go into it thinking, ooh, how are they going to do Hush? Whereas when they do something like this, which is totally off canon, you're like, oh my god, I don't know what can happen next. No one is safe. So I really liked that. Lots of people think that we make the show. So we've been asked quite a lot if we'd always planned on making Harley and Ivy a couple.
No, we don't make it. It's a terrible strain on my wrists.
The show?
Yeah.
Just stipulating that you're not saying you never wanted to make them a couple.
Oh, no. I mean, the animation.
Very good.
I don't make
Yeah, so lots of people ask us about that. When is season 3? I want season 3. What do you think about season 3? Is there going to be season 3? Season 3, season 3. Thank you to the 250 of you that replied. I wish I could tell you when season 3 will be, but I'm telling you, watch this space, August the 22nd. DC will have news for you at DC FanDome. Okay, next up we're throwing over to me for comic book review, and I'm going to tell you about Wynd #1, because I just can't stop banging on about this. Because it's quite touching, and it's quite magical. You already know who writes it and who draws it, because we've just been talking about the fact that this issue has already sold out and gone back for second printing. But in case you skipped ahead to the review, Wynd #1 is written by James Tynion IV and has artwork by Michael Dialynas. Now, you can read my full review over on the website, www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, but basically what I said about this one was that anyone who knows me will know that although I play D&D, when it comes to comics, I'm pretty much an out-and-out superhero fan. That's pretty much fair to say, isn't it?
Yep.
My subscriptions read like a who's who of DC, Marvel and Boom heavy hitters, with the odd kind of random curveball thrown in there, but generally, I'm capes and kites, cowls. But when I heard that James Tynion was doing this, I thought, okay, this sounds kind of interesting. It's going to appeal to the D&D player within me, and so it's not going to be completely out of my comfort zone, but it's going to be out of my kind of reading comfort zone, as it were. And so I was intrigued to see what Tynion could do with... in fact, I said in my review, what magic, literally, he could do with an original property. And lo and behold, it's excellent. It's a really cool opener. It doesn't spend too much time on world building. It feels like you're jumping into a world that already has existed for years and you're just reading something new that's set within it. The characters are all really likeable. Wynd is a really great lead. There's clearly some stories to tell there about sociological issues. There's a lot of racism, homophobia and things like that that are bubbling underneath the surface in this pipe world that he lives in. And Tynion is going to be able to tell some really important sociological stories through it, but in this first issue we're just kind of loosely being introduced to this kind of already fully formed world and the characters that are living within it. You get the beginnings of some interesting stories. So Wynd is some kind of half-breed with his cute little pointy ears that he has to hide because Pipe Town is a human-based world and they don't like outsiders, which is where the racial tension comes into it. He has a kind of unrequited love for a local gardener, but the gardener himself also seems to be kind of in a relationship with the local prince, but the prince has something else that's going on behind the scenes that's going to tie into some of the magic of the show. This isn't a TV show, Neil. It might play out like it in my head, but it's a comic book. There's a lot that Tynion is able to pack into the script of this first issue, but you don't feel like you're reading something that is particularly heavy. It feels very, very light and very airy, and that's amplified by Michael Dialynas' artwork. Do you feel the same? When I think sort of... I keep saying D&D, but you know what I mean? That kind of dragons, swords, sorcery, magic type read.
Fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy. That's a good word for it. Fantasy. I think of quite heavy, dark artwork. Does that make sense?
Why use one word? Because use 500.
That's how I live my life. Do you know what I mean?
No. Well, just because it's fantasy, it doesn't have to be dark and...
Well, no, it doesn't. And that's exactly my point.
Windswept and...
This book is not. This book is really, really light and airy and brightly coloured.
Like Wynd.
Like Wynd. And that's a surprise because in my head, when I think of fantasy, I think much more painted, darker colours, blood red skies, dragons, fire, reds, browns kind of colours. Make sense? Sort of earthy. This doesn't feel earthy, it feels airy, like Wynd.
Like Wynd. It's
Yes.
almost like they've planned it like that.
It's almost like they planned it like that, yes. It's a really nice introduction, which I would highly recommend that anyone reads, because it's a nice read. They're nice characters. It's got some important issues that it's going to tackle in the course of this 4-issue series, and I just recommend it for people who are looking to go outside their comfort zone. I gave it a magical 9 out of 10 in my review. I said James Tynion IV and Michael Dyer-Lennis have crafted a beautiful entry point into the world of Boom Studios' Wynd, introducing us to the heartwarming characters and the beginnings of an important cultural story.
So I'm interested that you've given it a 9.
Yes.
Why would it need to make it a 10?
If anything, although it's perfectly paced, not a huge amount happens, because it's introducing you. It's not a heavy-handed introduction, but likewise, it's just a little quiet.
It's a gentle breeze.
It's a gentle breeze rather than a tornado. But it's nice. It's a nice change. It's one of those things where it's not quite perfect, but it's not perfect. If that makes sense.
It's a 9. Let's just leave
It's
it
a
as
9.
a 9.
It's an absolute 9.
It's a 9. It's light. It's gentle and breezy.
So we've been watching a lot during lockdown, have we not? We've talked about this in previous podcasts during lockdown. Lockpod.
Lockpod. There's Lockwatch.
We've now finished Buffy.
Lockwatch and snack.
We're on the way to finishing Angel.
Yes.
I'm now 5 seasons through The Walking Dead. 5 seasons through Bones, 3 seasons through Arrow, 3 seasons through... not 3 seasons through Flash. 1 season through Flash. 2 seasons through the Orphan Black. The Orphan Black. There's a lot that's been watched. But a couple of things that I thought we'd just talk about that we've watched during this period. You finally have seen John Wick 1 and 2. Which are films that I always wanted to get you to the cinema to see, but we've never seen any of them at the cinema.
I don't know why.
I've still not seen John Wick 3, so I'm looking forward to watching that this week. I've seen 1 and 2. I've now seen them twice. I'd only seen them once before I watched them with you. And I love both of them because I think they're just great films. But I was curious to know what your thoughts were on these.
I mean, there's not a lot to them. He's got a dog.
Oh.
He's got a car.
Yes.
And he's got some issues. That's about it, really. It's just a nice film to put on and not have to worry about a complicated plot.
Yep. You're from memory, which is you would hope would be quite good considering I've known you for 12 years. You're quite a fan of a action kung fu type movie, a sort of a beat 'em up style. Let's just have some action for the sake of action type film. So did this appeal to that fan within you?
Yes.
I know this isn't a kung fu movie. This is more of a punch, kick, hit with anything and shoot kind of movie. But I presume it's along the same sort of lines.
Yeah, I think so. It's very reminiscent of my childhood. I did watch a lot of the kung
all those
fu
times that you got taken out on the job while your parents were hitmen. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, what I was saying was it reminds me of watching the kung fu films as a child.
Yeah.
And the action adventures and all this, the Rambos and all those films of the days.
It feels like a perfect vehicle for Keanu Reeves. He's the kind of actor that people like. He doesn't need to show a huge dramatic range because he's just a cold-faced killer, and he seems to be really good at that kind of fight choreography and the stunt work.
Well, he's got all the Matrix under his belt, hasn't he?
True, yeah.
Of that wafting about in slow motion.
Do you know, I actually think that this is possibly even better as a character.
I don't know if you can, I mean,
they're very different. It's not like you can really compare them. Lawrence
yeah.
Fishburne is in both franchises, but
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a good all-star cast as well, though.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Who's the first one that springs to mind?
Oh, Broyles from Fringe.
Yes! Same for me, Lance Reddick. You've got Batwoman in there, Ruby Rose in the second one as a mute assassin.
Thank God.
Moving on.
You've got that man from American Gods.
Yes.
The manager.
Yes.
Thor. Not Thor, he's not Thor, he's Odin.
Odin, yes.
Odin. You've got to say it like that as well.
Odin.
Odin.
Odin. Oh, that's quite good.
That was too much. So yeah, good films. Good, nice.
You struggled a little bit with the first one just due to the death of the dog.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I wasn't down for that.
It's tough, isn't it?
No, I didn't like that. No, sir.
It's very tough. Very, very tough.
Yeah, I'm not good with that. Ever since I watched that Netflix documentary, Don't with Cats.
You can say don't beep with cats.
It's not got the same ring to it, has it?
Technically, if you want to remain PG-13, you are allowed one fuck. So that's our one.
That's it. You've done it now. You've ruined it.
You can't say any more.
No.
So it's back to don't bleep with cats.
Yeah. Don't. I mean, that was hard. I couldn't. After that, I'm like, oh no, I'm not down for animal cruelty.
You were down for animal cruelty before that?
Oh no, not at all. No.
Choose your words carefully, young Padawan.
Do you know what it is? I've been watching a lot of Yorkshire Vet.
Yes, you have.
I do love a vet program, so I feel more.
Who's a vet?
She's a vet. She's a ghost hunter, actually.
Which has been your favourite of the two John Wick so far? One or two? One I feel like is very self-contained because they obviously weren't sure whether it would be a success and make a franchise. Whereas two, I feel like opens up the whole world of the Continental Hotel and the mechanisms behind the secret society.
I think it's the Intercontinental Hotel.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Because it's intercontinental.
Yes.
I don't have a favourite. I like them both. I like the...
I thought you might say that, actually.
I just like the stuff. Not the stuff. What am I trying to... What's the words? Wait, they'll come to me. I like the history and the...
Secret society-ness?
Yeah, I like that.
The mystery.
Not the mystery. What's the word?
It's a mystery.
Mythology?
Yeah.
Of this sort of ancient gang of assassins in posh hotels. So I quite like that, and the sort of the culture and all that.
The idea that they're not supposed to be violent towards each other whilst they're in the hotel, or that's a safe space, and all the gold coins and the tattooed ladies in the call centre.
Yeah, I quite like all that. I was like, oh, I quite like this. This is, you know.
It's very, very clever, and I'm sure somebody will tell me off for making this comparison, but to me,
you're
almost...
going to make it... No, wait, I'm going to wait and see what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say. It's, in a way, to me, it's the kind of high concept movie that you don't expect, like Underworld.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, what did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to take it to a wanted place.
The Angelina Jolie film.
The Secret Society of Assassins.
Yeah, no, I didn't think of that at all.
That's another good film. I do like The Wanted.
The band?
Oh, no.
You like Wanted, the film?
Wanted. I thought it was The Wanted.
Don't think so.
So no, I'm going to have to look this up.
You look that up. No, the reason I say Underworld is because that's the kind of film that you could easily misjudge as a mindless kind of popcorn action horror film. But as much as it is that in one respect, when you then think about that whole franchise, or even some of the history that's in that first film, before they had produced the film, and not even as a huge plot point within it, you had hundreds of years of history, and they knew characters from hundreds of years ago, and that's where the third film came from, where, you know, the Rise of the Lycans film, where they went back and they explored the history. And that's that kind of film that you wouldn't necessarily expect to have like a huge production bible with years and years and years worth of potential storytelling and ideas that you can dredge up to get to where you are now. And I think that John Wick does something similar in that it could just be a guy who goes around and kills people because he's an assassin, but actually they've really made it a well-rounded world that you can engage with and watch and enjoy as a viewer, I think.
Yes.
Oh, this is a proper film class today. I'm enjoying this.
Oh, I'm glad somebody is.
Then I wanted to just talk about a TV series, which would be the Umbrella Academy, which we just finished last night. We watched the pilot when it first streamed and liked it, but then didn't like it enough to watch the whole thing. And it was just at the end of the list, 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 and we've now reached the end of the list.
What's the other one that's like the Umbrella Academy?
Oh, I know what you mean. It got cancelled. The school. We watched the pilot. We watched the pilot for both at the same time.
Oh, I remember now. What was that called?
Oh God.
It's not the Umbrella. What was it? The Fedora.
Deadly Class.
Deadly Class.
That was a great pilot. That got cancelled, actually.
Oh, I'm not watching the rest of it then.
So we watched both, and I think we enjoyed Deadly Class more, but we enjoyed both, and then didn't end up watching any more because it was just the wrong time. I think there was probably too much that we were trying to watch at once. So Umbrella Academy comes back in a month's time with season 2 on Netflix, and I thought, okay, well, that's fairly timely because people will probably be rewatching it, getting ready for it, and here's us just finishing it. Again, your thoughts, please, Sir Boy of Wonder.
Thank you, madam. It was all right.
It took a while to grab me.
I found it a bit of a chore, but not really a chore. I liked it, but at the same time, I wanted something more from it.
I felt like it was very, very slow for a 10-episode season.
It was very slow for a 10-episode season.
The only time where I finally thought at the end of an episode we need to put the next one on straight away is when Vanya slashed her sister's throat.
But we still didn't put it on straight away.
No, we didn't. But that's the only time I felt like it. And then I did through the end of the season after that. But it took to that point for me to go, oh, okay, I'm in. I like all the characters. Who's your favourite?
Klaus?
Klaus.
And I like the assassins. I like those two. I every time it's Mary J. Blige.
It's Mary J. Blige.
Who knew?
No more drama.
No more drama. No more pain.
I know who my favourite character is. My favourite character is that lady whose name I cannot remember. I mean, obviously I remember her real name. Her real name is Addison Montgomery.
That's not her real name.
No?
That's quite scary.
What? That I would say that was her real name?
Yeah.
So you would know her in this show as the handler. So that would be the lovely, wonderful Kate Walsh from Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice.
She's not bad in this. This is a role that she's annoyed me the least.
I love Kate Walsh. I would say that Kate Walsh is one of my favourite actresses on TV.
But you do love a bizarre female lead series.
Thanks.
Well, we'll go to a Ghost Whisperer place because I just don't understand any of it.
That's more of a concept thing than the execution.
That's like a mum show.
That is a mum show.
My mum did watch that show.
I
She
know.
loved it.
I know.
You stole the DVDs from her.
I know.
Can I borrow this, please?
She bought that for me for Christmas.
Yeah, whatever.
That's more of a concept thing. I find.
Don't try and give me that it's a concept thing rubbish. She solves crimes in a bloody antique shop.
No, what I was going to say was.
It's like Murder, She Wrote for ghosts.
Exactly, and you love Murder, She Wrote.
Well, Angela Lansbury's a legend, isn't she?
Wonderful. We're now having a spat in a podcast. Well done. No, I was just going to say that I feel like if you watch too much heavy stuff, you need to balance it out with something that's basically shit but easy viewing, and that's what that is.
That's why I watch Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote isn't shit, though. It's enjoyable. Why are you scowling at me? You love Murder, She Wrote.
I know, but every time I watch it, like, oh, what's this rubbish?
Well, it's the same thing every time, isn't it?
Well, it's like when you watch Bones, isn't it?
All right. Back to the Umbrella Academy.
Oh, look, there's a skeleton.
I like the overall story. I've never read an Umbrella Academy comic book, so I'm now kind of intrigued to see what reading it would be like and how it plays on the page compared to how it plays on screen.
Well, you've read an X-Men comic book, so...
So this is... You struggled with this, that it feels very much like the story of Jean Grey, to some respect.
We've got mutants, we've got a super mutant who then destroys the world.
Really good special effects for that, I would like to add. I was impressed by the level of special effects in blowing up the moon and apocalypsizing the Earth.
I was a little bit disappointed at the end, though.
Okay, what disappointed you about the ending?
Because I have this thing with time travel. It drives me mad.
Okay.
If we then go back and redo Series 1 again.
They were kids, weren't they, at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, because then I don't believe that they are kids when we pick up in Season 2.
Because I just feel a bit... You know when you watch one of those like episodes and they're stuck in a time loop?
Yes.
I'm just like, oh, God. I can't do it.
Well, Doom Patrol, which we're about to talk about in a minute, did do something vaguely similar in episode 202. Time Patrol.
Not really.
I'm looking forward to you explaining your way out of that one.
That was only one loop. That wasn't an infinite loop.
So what was your highlight of Season 1 of The Umbrella Academy?
I don't really have a highlight.
Do you feel like it's left you anticipating Season 2?
A little bit.
I would only probably say a little bit as well. And that's not because I've not enjoyed it or not liked it. It's just been okay for me. It's been okay and at the end mildly entertaining. So I'm intrigued to see more, but again, don't feel like I'm going to end up rushing to watch more.
Yeah, it'll probably take us another year to go back to it.
Probably. I haven't asked Netflix for a screener, but you never know.
You never know. They're not going to give us one now. After I've listened to this.
Anything else you'd like to say about the Umbrella Academy? I just thought we'd do a light touch on that one because it's coming back soon.
No, I think we've said everything. I mean, it's all right. Yeah.
If you've watched this, I'd be intrigued to know what you think about it out there. So get in touch and let me know. You can find us in the usual places on social media at Get Your Comic Con on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as at Neil Vag, and you can find Martin on social media as at BoyWonder1989. But as he always stipulates and is making a face at me about right now, he does predominantly talk about nursing because that is his day job, and he does have a serious side, so it might not be very interesting to follow him, but do it anyway. Always good to educate the kids about pain.
I do tweet about other things other than pain, sometimes.
Okay. So, last on the review list this week, the return of what may be one of your favourite TV shows of all time.
Who knew?
Doom Patrol Season 2. It's all in your head. It's all in your head.
And we've used up our F-bomb.
Yes, which is difficult because Robot Man does swear, I believe, what was it?
72
times or something like that in the first 3 episodes. So Doom Patrol is back for Season 2. Season 1 was 15 episodes. Season 2 is currently only running for 9. It was supposed to be running for 10, but they've not been able to complete production on the finale. The first 3 episodes are already available now. They all dropped at the same time, and the remaining 6 episodes, can't count, will be airing weekly. You have options this time around, Super Friends. You can now watch Doom Patrol simultaneously. It's dropping episodes simultaneously between DC Universe and HBO Max. Season 2 doesn't have a UK air date as yet. You can watch the entire season online on Stars Play, which is available through Amazon Prime and Apple TV. Season 1 is, I don't think, out yet. I should have checked this before we started recording, but you can at the very least pre-order on DVD and Blu-ray from the UK Warner Brothers shop now for home video release. Are you enjoying having Doom Patrol back on the air?
Yes.
What has been your highlight of these first 3 episodes so far? I just want to stipulate, we have seen episodes 1 to 4, but we can't actually, by the time I've released this podcast, we're still not able to talk about episode 4. So please do not talk about episode 4, Sex Patrol. It's awesome. Just talk about episodes 1 to 3. What's been your highlight of those 3 episodes so far? So you've got Fun Size Patrol. Sorry, I just thought I'd remind you. Fun Size Patrol, Time Patrol, and Pain Patrol.
Oh God, highlights, all of it, I think. It's just nuts, and I just love it.
You were so excited for it to be back.
I was.
I mean, to be fair, I'm excited to have it back as well. I really enjoyed the show. And for me, it's not, I don't ever think, ooh, yeah, Doom Patrol. But when I watch it, I'm always like, ooh, yeah, Doom Patrol.
Oh, I'm always like, ooh, yeah, Doom Patrol.
All the time.
All the time.
If anybody in America is listening, Martin would really love the blanket that you can buy as a member of DC Universe.
Oh, I love that blanket. Even though I'm melting in this ungodly weather, I would still wear it.
I know. We need to get the Doom Patrol merchandise. DC, if you're listening, DC FanDome would be a great time to sell some of that US exclusive merchandise to the world. I'm saving up for it. Please, thank you.
Or just send it to us.
Anyway, back to your highlights from Doom Patrol Season 2, Episodes 1, 2 and 3.
All of it. Yeah. So episode 1 was alright. It was a good start.
Did you get the impression, and this was my impression from episode 1, although, so HBO Max has only been around for sort of 4-6 weeks, and season 1 was already available on there and has been on DVD and Blu-ray in America for ages, but did you get the impression that episode 1 slightly simplified everything for a wider audience to jump in? You're going to say no.
Maybe. I didn't really see it like that. I mean, there was a bit of exposition going on there.
Yes.
But then they had a lot of stuff to clean up from the end of series 1.
Which they did really well in that one episode, actually.
Which they did really well. And there was a nice level of sort of angst and character development as well.
We've pulled in a lot of stuff from season 1 in these 3 episodes. Well, and in these 3 episodes. Nearly started talking about episode 4 because there's a lot. I mean, Danny's back, Dorothy's there. What else comes into it? I mean, there's plenty.
Cyborg's there with all these drama-rama.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff from the comics as well, which you know about far more than I do. So, I mean, Candlestick Man Maker.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean,
the Candle Maker and stuff.
Dorothy's friend.
What's he called? The Candle Maker.
Candlemaker, yeah.
He's
so creepy as well, and he's so close to the comic books, because in the comics he's this like weird, melty candelabra thing.
It's pure Grant Morrison.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what I really loved about these first 3 and 4th episodes, is that they've taken stories directly from the comics. They're slightly different to fit the continuity.
Yep.
But the true essence of them is still there.
I had forgotten. So we started a rewatch of season 1 and got 3 episodes in when we suddenly got access to season 2. So that rewatch went out the window. So I had forgotten that they were tiny.
Yes, because all the stuff at the end where Danny turns into a brick. Well, that was the fight with Mr. Nobody, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the giant cockroach snog thing. So I'd forgotten that, but I liked that. I loved the level of set design that went into the table in Cliff's room that they were living on.
That was insane, just for 1 episode.
Exactly. And it was a weird mix of like real practical life-size stuff and then overblown mini props. So like a real park bench, but surrounded by fake trees and fake grass with fake people. Really well done. And then the inside of the shops were almost like real shops. It was like a real street. Very, very cool. Very well done.
And I loved all the stuff with... God, what's his name? Negative Man.
Yep.
What's his name?
Larry.
Making the tiny breakfast.
Yeah, so Larry had obviously been crafting things for them, so had made little like dressing tables and made them the little tents that they're all living in. And I presume I guess he didn't need to make them tiny clothes because they were in what they were wearing in the last one, but making tiny pancakes and stuff.
Tiny pancakes, like those little videos you watch on YouTube with
the
YouTubes
and the twits
and they make like a tiny meal for a hamster.
You're right. Yeah, it was very cool. And I was going to ask you a question, but I should probably wait till we've talked about the 3 episodes. Okay, so...
episode 1, loved it. Episode 2... loved it.
Time Patrol,
loved it.
Again, excellent prop work, costume design. Dr. Time looked immense. That was so cool. It was almost like the little clock man from Beauty and the Beast, but real. It was just such a good practical effect.
Yes, real and with a little bit of 70s sass.
Yes, a good disco scene.
Well, it made me think of Starfire.
Yeah, it was very Starfire in a way, I suppose. Yeah, with the music and the disco. And I'm trying to think what else. That was an interesting episode for Willoughby Kipling. That's the character I was trying to think of the name of, who came back in the first episode. Timey-wiminess. All right, so timey-wiminess is an issue for you, but there's some timey-wiminess in this particular episode.
Yeah, but it was only one little flick round, and it was a very different outcome. It's like that episode of Buffy where she gives the mummy hand about 25 times.
True.
I'm like, this is too much. I get the idea. She's in a time loop. Let's move on.
Or when the Enterprise is constantly being destroyed and someone has to stop it from happening.
Yeah, I can't bear it.
Episode 3?
Again, loved it. So it brought in Red Jack.
Yes, who, again, costume design and makeup design was intense. I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter before it started. They said they were really disappointed about the fact that season 1 was 15 episodes and this one was only going to be what we thought at the time was 10, but now going to be 9. And I kind of pointed out, from my perspective, that I thought that maybe they were making less episodes. Firstly, to be a little bit more concise, which I think is the only complaint that some people had about season 1, was that actually maybe 15 episodes was a little bit too long. But other than being maybe a bit more tight with the storytelling, that actually they were going to do something that would be bigger budget, and that actually making less episodes might give them more money to do some great special effects. And Jesus, if I could use another F-bomb, I would. The special effects are amazing throughout all 3 episodes.
Yeah, especially when they start to turn into the butterflies and they grow wings.
The butterflies are amazing, and that was grim. The giant spider, no. The rats, Cliff fighting with the rats. I mean, the whole thing is just such a lush production.
Yeah, that was really good. And again, like I said, so close to the comic storyline. So the whole Red Jack stuff was almost identical. Almost, not quite. Slight switch around in characters. So they should have gone to rescue Rhea, who isn't in the TV series, but she's on the original Doom Patrol lineup. Because Red Jack wants a mate. Yep. So he...
Was she one of the original Doom Patrol in the episode where we went to meet the old Doom Patrol in season 1?
Oh, I don't know, actually. She might have been.
I forget their names now.
Yeah.
Because we can get that far in the rewatch.
Oh, we'll have to go back and watch it. So anyway, so he takes her for a mate, but then Cliff and Jane go to save her.
There's some interesting stuff going on with Jane.
A lot of stuff going on in the underground. We've seen some more Janes.
Yeah, they've cast a lot more Janes.
Which is good.
We've met some new Janes that we've not met before.
We have, but we can't talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's episode 4, can't talk about that. Promo photos for episode 4 are up now on the website if you'd like to be mildly spoiled as to what's going on.
Yeah, but again, another very straight from the comic book story with a slight twist.
Yep. What do you think about the addition of Dorothy? Abigail Shapiro, who is the actress that's playing her, flipping brilliant. I don't know if she's doing an impression of Timothy Dalton on purpose or not, but she weirdly sounds like a teenage girl version of him.
She does, yeah.
Some of the intonation in her voice is spot on to the way he talks, and it's really eerie at times.
Yeah, I really like her. I think she's great. She's such an integral part to the comic story.
And again, the makeup effects are really
insane.
cool.
Yeah, and it's so close to what she looks like in the comics.
Yeah, I was worried in some of the early scenes in episode 1 that the mouth, the top lip, which is obviously built up to be more animalistic, would be too static and wouldn't particularly move or sort of impair the way that she talks, but I don't think that it does.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Which has been your favourite of these 3?
Probably the one we're not allowed to talk about.
So when I say which has been your favourite of the 3, you say episode 4, secret fourth option.
Oh, sorry. Episode 3.
Pain Patrol, okay.
Or probably a bit of 2 as well. 2 and 3.
There was a lot that went on with Cyborg in episode 3, and I'm really interested to see where that goes. I wasn't, again, quite sure how to take some of the stuff about... I felt really bad for him when he went to the group therapy session, and they were trying to ostracize him because of recording devices, and he's like, my entire body is basically a recording device. I didn't realize he could turn it off for a start, but I felt really bad for him in all that, and it's nice that he's trying to make a real human connection, and interesting with the character that he's connecting with, that being a gender flipped character from the comic books. That's going to go a very specific way by the end of this season, which is going to be really interesting to see, I think.
Yeah.
Anything that you've not been so keen on in these 3 episodes so far?
No. Not in the slightest.
What are you excited to see more of?
Everything,
really. You're going to say everything. Why did I ask that question?
Well, I think they've started to seed little bits here and there. I'm like, oh, that's going to be exciting to see.
We seem to be... So where the first season explored the faults that they see in themselves, I feel like this is now exploring their families. So like with Rita, we haven't seen anything in these 3 episodes because it's in episode 4.
Yes.
Larry when interacts with his own kids, and you get to see some more flashbacks of Matt Bomer as Larry with his son, which is really harsh. Again, I'd F-bomb if I could, but I can't, so I'll have to say he was a bit of a dick to his son.
I suppose there's that comment on the times, though, when there's the lifestyle that he leads as a military man and the persona that he has to give, closeted military man in the 50s. I mean,
so there's family all over the place. I'm only really now putting all the connections together. Obviously, you've got Chief and Dorothy, you've got Larry and his son and where that leads to. Cliff going to visit his daughter and finally confronting her and saying, I'm your dad, in the most Cliff way possible, with 1,000,001 F-bombs. Jane, I mean, her family are the underground.
But then she's realising that her family's actually the Doom Patrol.
Yes.
And the underground don't like that.
And with Rita, we haven't explored that yet. Yeah. Or maybe we have, and it's in episode 4.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Gentle viewers.
Episode 4, Sex Patrol, airing on Thursday on DC Universe and HBO Max.
So I'm excited for this series. I'm excited to see more of Dorothy and the Candlestick Man, the candle maker.
Yes.
And the wishes, because in the comics he does get free.
Less of Hector the Spider? I think he was called Hector.
I can't remember. Henry the Spider.
Whatever he is, I don't like it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember being in the comics, actually.
You said that to me in the first episode. I don't remember there being a spider.
Yeah, I would remember that. But then, to be fair, it's kind of hard to remember the comics because they're so all over the place.
Yeah, and you read the whole thing, basically back to back.
I've got one volume left,
Oh.
I think.
Wow.
Which I need to crack into.
Anything else that you would like to say about Doom Patrol Season 2 so far?
No, just that I'm looking forward to more things. So I want to see more of what's going to happen next. More of Dorothy.
More
of this potential new body for Cliff. Because he does get a different body in the comics.
But only briefly.
Well, it depends if they stick to that story or not. They probably won't. And just more other stuff. I'd like to see more of the Ant Farm, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe see more of the Men from Nowhere and bring all those crazy bits in.
So highlight for me so far is anything with Rita, and anything with Rita and Larry together, because I think they're excellent. And I say that, I don't ship Larry and Rita, which is a thing that people are arguing about on social media at the moment.
You don't want them?
Ship them.
Ship them?
Yes, want to picture them as a romantic couple.
Oh, is that a new term the children are using?
That term goes way back before even the days of Buffy.
I've never heard of that term before.
You've never heard of shipping?
No. I mean, I've heard of shipping containers.
Yes. So the TV fandom, if anybody out there knows when this first was coined as a phrase, do let me know. If you like a couple in a show and you particularly want them to be together, even if they're not together or they are together, whatever, there is a romantic pairing in TV that you are a fan of, you ship them.
Oh, I've never done that.
And that's when you start making up weird names, like Spike and Buffy was Spuffy.
Spuffy?
Yeah, that's what it was referred to on the message boards.
What would Rita and Larry be? Rowie?
Lita?
Rally?
But apparently there are people out there that think that there's a bit of a romantic spark between them, which is ironic because quite a lot of the storyline is about his homosexuality. But obviously there is a nice little spark in their friendship, but it's just platonic. I don't see it as romantic whatsoever. It's like a close brother and sister sort of situation.
They share a tortured past.
They absolutely do, and I thoroughly enjoy seeing the two of them on screen together. I think some of the stuff that happens between them in 3 is really touching, and then some of the stuff we can't talk about in 4 is just magical to watch.
Well, I mean, that's touching as well, but for different reasons.
Don't go there. Do not go there. We can't talk about it. If you were to score episodes 1 to 3 of Doom Patrol Season 2, how would you score them?
I'm going to give them a solid 9.
Why a 9, can I ask, and not a 10?
Just because I don't want to be too generous too soon. I'm saving that 10 for something quite spectacular.
Oh, right, okay. I think I've scored pretty much everything an 8 out of 10 so far. Consistent, excellent Doom Patrol. Great to have it back. Thank you to Warner Brothers for letting us watch these early so we get our reviews out when we need them to. We are very privileged and we are very happy about it, and we are very, very grateful. Thanking you.
All we need now is a towel or a blanket. What was that blanket?
It's a blanket. You can get a cap, you can get a t-shirt. There's hundreds of items.
A cap as well.
That about wraps things up for episode 38 of the Get Your Comic On podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions or comments or anything that you would like to suggest to us for future shows, you can get in touch. You can always drop me an email, which would be neil@getyourcomiccon.co.uk, if people still use email these days. Otherwise, find me on social media at neilvag, or you can find us as a collective on social media at Get Your Comic On. We are on all the major platforms as expected. As always, we don't really know what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks because things are still all a little bit up in the air. We were expecting to be able to go back to the cinema in the next couple of weeks, but we found out today that Cineworld are delaying reopening until the 31st of July, so we're still looking at a month or so till we're going to be back in the cinema, sadly. So Tenet and all those films that we were looking forward to are moving further and further away at the moment as COVID continues to be an issue. But will be... Warrior Nun starts this week on Netflix, which I'm quite looking forward to watching.
What was the pun? What was it?
We can't do the pun from the trailer because I've used the one F-bomb. It was F's given, none.
Oh, that was it. I like that, yeah. bit in a trailer voice. F's given, none.
Really excited about that. It's written by Simon Barry, who is the creator of the sci-fi series Continuum, which I am a big fan of. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this Buffy-esque concept of a warrior nun. It's adapted from an anime series as well.
Do you know, I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be awful, but I'm still going to love it.
It has been renewed for a second season today.
Okay, well,
I was concerned because I asked Netflix about screeners and they said they weren't going to be available for it. It's not being shown to the press beforehand, but today the news is that it's been renewed for a second season. So it seems like there is some confidence within Netflix that it's going to do quite well.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah. Other than that, we will do what we always do and we will make it up as we go along.
That's what I do every day.
Until next, that's called adulting. Until next time, I have been Neil. Thank you to my boy Wonder for joining me and listen to me say things in 500 words rather than 5 and cut him off whenever I ask him a question.
You could just say things like, it was good.
I feel like that would be less interesting for the listeners.
I really enjoyed the colours.
But until next time, bye!